being Listener Ski. It was my mother's family used to stay with, and there was always the games were kind of mixed, boys and girls. Had no idea about the troubles, and had no idea at a very early age what Catholic and Protestant was supposed to mean, or So it was just fantastic days, and my sister recollected a time playing football when on the green, on this sort of common green that we used to play on, and we often used to see the soldiers kind of do the job walking through the town. And one particular afternoon, two soldiers walked right across our pitch, jumping for goalposts. We carried on playing, and lo and behold, I don't think their authorities were around, and each one of them went in goal. And, they laid down their weapons. And I mean, the oldest one amongst us was about 12, 13, was a cousin of mine, Raymond. And the rest of us were, knocking on between, I'd say, 6 to 10. And sure enough, two young fellas, two British soldiers went in goal. And it was just a brilliant game. It was just an absolutely fantastic game of football. And that is one of my earliest, fondest memories. And, amazing how you used to travel backwards and forwards to the province through Belfast, Liverpool to Belfast as a child, and had no idea what it wasn't connecting, other than this was just a really exciting place to go, and it was different. And there's men with big guns, and there's a march every 12th. That's a really good fun. And then you'd cross the border, and you'd have to stop at a checkpoint, and then you'd have to cross another border, and there was a much different type of border in terms of men that you couldn't see their faces. And once or twice, went to watch Leitrim play Gaelic football, and they the thing that connected my childhood with both families was sport and music. I mean, yourself being Indigenous there, Tim, that's football, Gaelic football, sport of any kind in the province and across Ireland connects everybody, as does music. So, and they were the two biggest influences on my childhood, because they were the two areas that I followed and had aspirations of doing something in. And it's definitely, Irish blood that puts that in there. And on that note, it was always, it was always really good memories to kind of recollect. And they put me in good stead, because I too, as you know, football mad, as well as I love my music.
The Peaceful Project, and I'm very proud to say that we've been involved with that as a club and as an organisation, and helping along with the Craig Community Association and Ashfield Girls High School and TW Braga. We all linked together to basically the Craig Green George Best pitch, to have that first pitch linked with Flanders Peacefield, and not just Northern Ireland, but it was the first pitch in the whole of Ireland.
That's right. I mean, it's a beacon project that I use for all inquiries that want to get involved in the Peacefields project. I mean, the Craig Green, the Craig Community Centre, yourself, Marlene is worth mentioning. Marlene and the volunteers in and around that project. And it was just brilliant. It just worked really, really well. Belfast Council, I think, got on board at a later stage. The profile for it was brilliant, and it was just one of those events that you don't need. Okay, it's one of the greatest footballers of all time, where he grew up playing his game. And so there's that symbolism there, you know, and it's nothing short of positive. And twinning that area of play with Flanders Peacefield, and through the kids of Krieger and the surrounding areas that came along and played, boys and girls, and getting Ashfield Girls' School that came along to, you know, after the Peacefields project, the Global Peace Games, along with the young people that played and participated in the Peacefields project at Krieger. So it was a huge. It was much bigger than the sum of its parts, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, because initially we had yourself and Paul Cooper came over, and that was for an initial ceremony that involved the Belfast City Council, Craig Community Association of Moorleen, and we also invited, I think it was 3 primary schools. There's Craig Primary School,
that's right,
Listonshire Primary School, and St Bernard's, I believe. So, and that was bringing, you know, boys, girls, Protestants, Catholics together on the Craig Green, the George Best pitch. And for those that are listening to this outside of Northern Ireland, George Best grew up in Burren Way, which was literally a stone's throw from the pitch. And his house is still there today. That they're actually now in redecorating it based on the sort of 50s, 60s feel of him growing up. And anybody that's a patron on our Patreon page will see some of the coaching sessions that I've delivered on the pitch that we've twinned. And you know, we put it together walking from the pitch down to his house. It's a really nice video, so it just shows you how close it is. But tell us about that day that you were involved in, Ernie, when you came across.
Well, I tell you what, as an event goes, like I say, we use it as a beacon case study for the whole of the project. There was clearly some, bureaucracy to go through, but the actual event itself was fantastic. I mean, neighbours came out of their houses.
And the British Legion involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. British Legion did the formal ceremony. Yourself facilitating the football. It was just brilliant. The BBC finally got off their backsides and turned up to do a feel-good factor story in Belfast, and credit to them for doing it. So what I remember more than anything was once the ceremony was finished and the kids were playing football, and I was standing there watching them, and I stood next to some elderly gentleman who clearly, probably, you know, had been there since George Best was a youngster. And of course, within a minute of introducing ourselves, he told me how Bestie used to bounce a ball off the side of his house. He pointed the house out to me where he still lives, and apparently Bestie would just constantly kick the ball against his wall, and he said he used to run him down the street, you know. And then the story again, he introduced me to somebody else who said that George knew he knew George's sister very well. I can't remember her name, bless her, and she told the story that he would go to school kicking a stone all the way to school. If it wasn't a stone, it was a can. And then when he'd get to school, he'd roll up bits of paper and he'd play ticky-tacky underneath the desk. He'd never, ever not had something. So I kind of like, you know, thought, right, other than what we all know about George Best and the legacy, started reading a little more into it. And then between the lines, recognising he was, you know, I just watched a Ginger Baker, Cream Drummer documentary, recognising loads of similarities that, you know, Baker couldn't stop keeping a rhythm as a child. He couldn't stop moving. And George Best couldn't stop moving. He had energy to burn. He couldn't burn it through his fingers and his head, you know, in academia. So he burnt it through his feet. And I thought, you know, they're clearly on the spectrum, these fellas. And Bestie was no different. So that's what I remember about that event. It was a wonderful event. Everyone who took part in it, and I'm really, really proud. And everyone who took should be, because there's a legacy there. It's twinned with Flanders Peacefield, which is a lot of, you know, that's where the Global Peace Games happen, and that's where we work and facilitate the Global Peace Games, which we'll come on to in a minute. But and it's the site of the Christmas truces, and over 100 years ago, it was the last time historically that Protestants and Catholics Northern Irish Protestants and Catholics fought side by side. Then obviously history takes its normal perverse routes.
Yeah.
But that said, and the symbolism of a guy, a young fella who played on that pitch and watching all those kids playing on that pitch and twinning it, the connections is that Bestie brought both communities together.
I mean, it was such a privilege to be involved in it. And as you've touched on, I mean, that brought the momentum then to take a group of 20 people away, 10 boys, 10 girls, 10 Protestants, 10 Catholics.
That's right.
The Global Peace Games in Belgium in September 2018. Right. And then we met with 20 Italians over there and 20 from Belgium, although the 20 from Belgium was a mix of refugees that were some harrowing stories fleeing from war-torn countries like Afghanistan and Syria. I think was there over 20 different nationalities that we have in that trip?
Right. The number that springs to my mind is 23. I've got my PC in front of me here, and looking at it, it was 23 different nationalities, and there was 80 participants there that year. Was that the year that we had kids from India as well?
I think that might have been the year after.
I beg your pardon. Okay. Yeah. So yes, you were right in saying there were kids from Syria, Afghanistan, refugees and migrants that had found their way through incredible stories to get to Belgium, and this week-long peace education program. And for me, it was an absolute ambition to bring, and I still do, not me personally, I hasten to add, but the Children's Football Alliance still bring Irish children from the province to Flanders Peacefield, because the Peace Village is under the shadow of the Island of Ireland Peace Park, which, as you know, because you would have visited it as well, Tim, and there is 250,000 Catholic and Protestants from all over Ireland buried under the Peace Tower there and commemorated there. And that's the start of the old Western Front. And the old Western Front near Mazines was the site of the Christmas truces. And so it's really symbolic, and it's wonderful to bring young people from girls and boys, mixed ability, mixed gender, from Belfast at that particular time. And you will recollect how effectual that experience was on those kids.
And as you said, I mean, football and sport is the universal language, because in the first day when they were just getting to know each other, you had done some really good games, the sort of like icebreakers and stuff. But even though there was difficulties in understanding each other through language, the sport brought it together, and it was great to see them interact as people. And I mean, it was life-changing for me. One of the most life-changing events I've ever went through, because the media can have you perceive about certain things. And some of the stories that I heard from these young people were so harrowing. And I mean, it really moved me. It changed me as a human being. Those sort of 5-6 days we had together, the activities that we did, and friends that we made from it. And again, sport and music as well brought them through, because by the end of the week, they had their little party and the dancing, and we'll keep one of the players going romancing.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're absolutely right, recollecting. I mean, music, sport and art. They did their graffiti art, didn't they, as well? Yeah. And what the connection there is all creativity. And I've got a really treasured piece of art, graffiti art, that I bought from that particular year, and it was done by 3 young people. One was Irish, and one was from Afghanistan, and the other one was from Poland. And I kept this, and quite simply, 3 different nations across the world come together, and they did this amazing bit of graffiti art, peace art. And I always look at it really fondly and think about that particular event, because you're absolutely right. It's fraught with all sorts of anxieties before the event starts, and my word, at the end of it, There's nothing but love, metaphorical throughout,
Mm-hmm.
and pen pals and friends, and it's a respite that a lot of those young people, desperately need, in all walks of life. And it's an absolute brilliant reminder to take kids, young people, out of Belfast, Derry, or Enniskillen, or anywhere, Manchester, London, and put them into a field,
Yeah.
and let love commence.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there was some other. I mean, the bicycle ride was brilliant. The Passchendaele Museum I really enjoyed as well.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that is the reality, and it's the commemoration, and what, even though young people come from Pakistan, India, to this special place in Europe. And whether you're from a community, the Falls Roads, Shankill, or Derry, Bogside, wherever,
Mm-hmm.
you come to this place and you meet other young people that come from similar places, with similar partitions, with similar communal tensions, with similar families, with similar mentors, and indoctrinations and traditions. And you come to this place, and there is nothing.
Yeah.
There is absolutely none of that baggage is there. All you are told is that from here to as far as the eye can see, there was over 9 million men and women slaughtered over 100 years ago, representing 3/4 of the planet Earth. So, those sort of things that you hear from curators and historians send shivers down the back of your neck.
Yeah.
And you suddenly realize, actually, this is pretty special, and you never forget it. I don't know any child that has ever done the Global Peace Games. And here's the problem. I'm in a position where I have to quantify it, qualify it, and beg, borrow, and steal to get money to bring these young people there to experience it. And the ultimate goal is to create peacemakers for the future, to go back to your community, and with the knowledge of the power of what football, rugby, cricket, any other sport will do in terms of bringing you together. It's a wonderful experience, and it's a really, really powerful message.
One of the things that sticks in my mind that brought hairs in the back of my neck up was the last post ceremony in Ypres at the main gate. And maybe if you want to tell the listeners a wee bit about that, because I didn't realise, maybe ignorance on my part, that happens every night.
Yeah, I mean, in Meningate in Ypres, every single night, 8 o'clock, the local fire brigade will perform the last post. And they have done this every single year, obviously not throughout World War II years. Reconvened a year after World War II. But Ypres was totally flattened, absolutely flattened. Ypres is probably the size of Derry. Mm-hmm. That's the size of Ypres city. And it was absolutely flattened. So the Meningate was a monument. And on the monument is 55,000 soldiers' names that weren't found in the battlefields. So you will find your name there. I know exactly where there's 4 Brennans on those plinths, and I know exactly which slabs they're on. But aside from that, every single night the last post is played, and there's always on average, all the time that I've been there, the lowest crowd I've seen there will be a couple of hundred people, and the most I've seen there was the repatriation of a New Zealand platoon stroke garrison of, I think there was 20 soldiers that were repatriated that were found in a field. Mm-hmm. And there was, I think, about 15,000 people there. But it happens every single night. So bringing young people from the Global Peace Games to go and experience a commemoration to wars, that is pretty much the beacon of commemoration. And then when they come back to the Peace Village, and the Peace Village is all about celebrating peace and enjoying peace and not taking peace for granted. It's not a concept piece. It's a way of life. That's what peace is. It's nature.
And it was fabulous that evening we were there, that some of our young people were actually involved in the ceremony with bringing down the poppy bowl.
I mean, you know, to see young Irish people, uh, you know, of both genders laying down the peace poppy bowl, and you know, witnessing their, you know, their sort of emotions, if you like, of absolute respect. And you know, it's you know, there's different ways to commemorate. Okay, that's what the Peace Village teaches you. You don't need to be conventional to commemorate a war. And there's, you know, there's lots of people that don't like wearing a red poppy. That is absolutely respected, because there's different ways of commemorating. It is not it's not mandatory to walk up to a memorial and lay down a wreath to commemorate. It is a part of respect, but other people do it in different ways, you know, and there's different ways to commemorate, and you can do that through play. And that's what we do at the Peace Village. We show you the different ways to commemorate and celebrate peace, and you can do that side by side and be non-offensive and be totally respectful. You know, you may not agree with some conventions and traditions, but you can always step back and be respectful. And that's what we do is, you know, in our reconciliation classes and intervention classes, is to respect. And when you bring people together to celebrate peace, no one's mourning or crying. In fact, people are laughing and celebrating. And then when you go to the Eep, you realize that everyone is silent and remembering. And that's just another form. Mm-hmm. So, and young people get that. And, you know, those young Irish people that at the time that you came over and we brought them, totally got it. And they always get it. And the people that struggle with it, Tim, are senior people, shall I say, more mature people. They struggle with, well, no, you should do this, you should do this. No. Yeah. Times are moving on, and we need to be more transparent, not translucent, to why we do these things. So that, you know, still sends shivers down my spine talking about and remembering that particular event, because, you know, with the thousands of people that were there, you know, not many, unless you're Irish by blood or by birth, you would really know the significance of a male and a female, Catholic and Protestant, laying a peace poppy ball.
Exactly. And I mean, I think you captured it in the closing ceremony of the event, you know, saying that the young people all in this room together are the future global peace ambassadors of this world. And that's huge. And anybody that wants to have a look, we made up a little video of it, and it's one of my favorite videos I've got, and I often watch this. It's on our YouTube channel at TW Sports Group, and it's just titled Peacefield Project, the Global Peace Games Belgium, September 2018. I think you'll be able to find it a wee bit easier if you go on our website, just on our journey, because it's all done in date order, and you'll find it's a brilliant video with some really moving music to capture the whole you know, atmosphere and what we got up to over there. If anybody would like to find out more information, Ernie, about the Children's Football Alliance and the Global Peacefield Projects, how can they get in contact with you?
It's simple. Just go online, the usual W's, childrensfootballalliance.com. It's all there.